Hello, everybody, and welcome to Answer the Call. Answer the Call is still a call-in show. I keep forgetting to say it at the beginning of every show. Answer the Call is a Star Citizen podcast with myself and Croncy, where we talk about whatever's going on, a certain topic in specifics, or something that has gone on this week. As you can see below, huge quality of life additions still happening in Star Citizen, and we believe will continue to happen. But it's also coming, in my opinion, there's some pretty crazy game-breaking bugs right now as well. So, yeah, we're getting quality of life, but, it's two steps forward, one step back, maybe a little bit as well at times. But we also have some other updates that should be coming soon. Croncy is going to be doing some shorts and stuff from the podcast. So we have a TikTok account that's ready to be followed.
Yeah, it's already got a couple of videos up there that I've chucked up for the last couple of days. Yeah.
Cool. And then I'll be taking those and posting them on shorts of my channel for now, but just to give you a broader view of where Croncy and I would like to take this one day is the podcast, for it to have its own channel and things like that on YouTube. So, but for now, it'll live on my channel until we've taken it to the point where we're ready to jump and have it be its own thing, maybe. But yeah, we're really proud of it. But again, if this is your first Answer the Call, it's basically where Croncy and I talk about something, but it's being streamed live on Twitch, and you can join the Discord call that we're talking in right now, and share your points of view. So Answer the Call has always been about that, where my platform and Croncy's platform is given up to you to discuss the topic that we're sharing today. So if you guys are interested in talking about anything that we do end up talking about today, feel free to join the green room, and we'll bring in and give you a little time, and we'll talk with you. So I don't know, have you played a lot of SC, or have you been playing a lot of Starfield this week? Did you catch the quality of life stuff?
As we established last week, Star Citizen is dead now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I played a little bit because they had fixed a couple of things with the Hull C, so I finally got to try that out, which was good. And I played a lot of Arena Commander this last week, because one of the big things that changed is there was an issue with the initial release where a couple of the racing maps just weren't working. You were just auto 30K'ing when you went into them. Not the case anymore. So I played, I think, off stream, I played 6 hours of Yadar Valley yesterday, just over and over and over and over again.
Yadar Valley is Daymar, right?
Yeah, that's the Daymar.
That's my favorite track.
Probably my. Yeah, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Big fan. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of that. Obviously the big thing, is all these quality of life updates that have sort of come out of the woodwork in the last week or so, which I do want to point out on the first new version of Answer the Call, Mike, literal first episode, you're like, look, this is the quality of life patch. Did you ever expect it to be this much? Because they just keep on adding stuff like every patch.
No, not at all. Yeah. But now you're also seeing the community team this week point it out as a this is an initiative, or in some way. And we've been here before. So I made a video this week on my channel. We've talked to Aaron Roberts about how these are new initiatives that we're doing and things are going to get better. And I think there's no denying that Star Citizen's development has improved over the years. But has it gotten better to the expectations that they set for themselves back then? I would argue no. And I'm kind of staying very cautiously optimistic about this initiative. And Zyla was in my chat the other day when I was playing, and I basically said, that's cool, but it's talking the talk is one thing and walking the walk is another. They are walking the walk in 320. I hope, they've confirmed a 321. Yep. They have to continue walking the walk in 321 and continue to deliver quality of life updates while adding new features as well. Treating Star Citizen live, the live build, as a live service, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just on the topic of we actually should expect more quality of life changes just in general, because we've seen that pattern over the last year. It's just there was a lot of really small quality of life changes throughout a bunch of patches. This is just like a wall of them at the moment, which is fantastic. I don't know what it's going to do in terms of retaining new players necessarily, because I don't think a lot of them are complaining about quality of life changes as much as they're complaining about bugs. But if it makes the game better, it makes the game better. It's it's stuff we need for sure.
Sure, and I think I mean, fixing some bugs has been a part of the quality of life changes. For whatever reason, none are coming to my mind. So it's mostly been like, yeah, improving the gameplay experience. And obviously, bugs are going to be bugs, and they are unavoidable as you're building a game. Like they're going to continue to be a thing. But man, it's just looking at this. Definitely, I'm trying. I'm saying I'm cautiously optimistic. I should say I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic because it's hard not to be a little bit excited when you hear them fix something like, combat logging or something that is a really big deal as far as things people have been asking for forever, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is interesting. So I made a YouTube video about some of the quality of life changes that came out earlier this week, and I made sure, I asked what quality of life changes does everyone want in the future, because there's so many different features that could just come out of everywhere, and there's so many differing opinions about how just literally everything should be run. And I do not want to be the person that would have to choose that. But one of the ones that I thought was absolutely fantastic, and it's kind of wild to me that doesn't exist right now. If your ship just gets targeted, just gets pinged, it would be so much better if we had an alert for that in the ship. Let's say, I'll just use the 890 as an example just because it's so large. If I'm chilling down in the pool of the 890, I should be warned that I've gotten targeted. I'll be warned if I've taken damage, but I don't know that that's happened, which is just really weird.
So when you're not in the cockpit, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought initially you were when you said pinged, I was like, ooh, so when I scan and you show up on my scan, I was like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a bit much, because that also, it wouldn't be great for stealth or scout gameplay, but
exactly,
actually getting targeted. Yeah.
Okay. Even just talking about that, we had that back in the day,
Oh, really?
When the first element of scanning, it wasn't you got scanned and you get a notification, but scanning would raise your emission level so high, and it also was a visual thing that the entire server was the people around you could see. They could see that ping happen. So when you were scanning, you were actually giving your position away. And then they ended up changing that. And I think that will make a comeback at some point. But I mean, that would be one of my needed quality of life things is scanning has a fair amount of, I wouldn't say bugs, but it's not as good. And I will say that it does appear to be working better in this PTU, the Friday patch. So that's been good. And I think a lot of this do you think, I should ask you though, instead, do you think a lot of this could be attributed to the Arena Commander updates and being able to see these things faster? I talked a lot about this watching SEL this just right before the show. I think we can attribute a lot of changes to this already, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
I don't know if it's because of the Arena Commander update though, because a lot of the quality of life changes are not really Arena Commander stuff, right? The mole change, obviously, it's not really an Arena Commander thing, right? I think it's more a case of there just are resources. They just are allocating more resources to that style of development right now. And that's literally the only answer that I can think of. If all of the changes were about master modes or about lobbies or about matchmaking, that sort of stuff, then yeah.
See, I think what I hope to see, we see an update on the way, the tank works now in these low. That would never happen if it wasn't for Arena Commander. I think
for sure, yeah.
I think hopefully things around gunplay in FPS modes, those are never going to happen unless we got Arena Commander, because they've never happened up to this point, even though everyone has issues with certain guns and certain things and things like that. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens there. But yeah, I guess you're right. Not a lot of the things that we've seen currently have had much to do with it, but I guess a few things, and I hope we get some more through there, because it's going to feel like a waste to me. Arena Commander is super fun, but it's going to feel like a waste of time because I think the people who are working on it seem to be like really passionate and really talented. And I would love if we just took them and went, here, make something in the PU. You know what I mean? Because I think that we would get a lot out of them from there. So for me, I hope what we do end up getting is with their hard work and all that stuff, that it's like, here, we fix things in the PU, you know? DJ said no thanks in chat. So, but
sorry, DJ, we're your boss. That's how it works.
No, not at all. But I just look at them and be like, wow, look at these guys. They took something that was dead and revived it, and it's actually fun. What could they do with the game that we all, put money into? Which is what we always I think that's what people have a hard time with, is like you put money into the PU and then you see your money go somewhere else, and people are like, what the hell?
That's probably the biggest complaint with the SC from veterans, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's as much of a problem with new players, at least not that I've noticed. And well, I don't even know if it's you don't know yet. I think expectations have been a lot more realistic from a lot of backers from the last couple of years. Sorry, like the expectations like shown to them for the most part. Now that's not necessarily from CIG. Yeah. That's also from just like the fact that it's been, what was it, 2012. There's
a lot more history.
Yeah, exactly. And that history is very public. So I think people that back in nowadays don't necessarily mind as much, but I'm also happy to be proven wrong. If you backed like 3 days ago and then you were like, what the hell, what's going on with Squadron 42? I want to hear about it. And you can tell us about that by calling in on Answer the Call. Discord.gg/SaltEMike.
There you go. But yeah, I just think most people are being fed Star Citizen. I mean, Burks didn't know what Squadron 42 was until like a year after he was streaming Star Citizen. He didn't even know it existed.
What? That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's definitely corner case for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of people, I just think you're marketed so much PU and you're marketed nothing from Squadron. It's just like casually mentioned here and there that like, dude, look at your YouTube comments. They don't listen to the videos you post, right? Like nobody does. It's like people's attention spans, whatever. They are what they are. They want to hear what they want to hear. So if you aren't like super, super, super upfront with stuff, I imagine people wouldn't know that some of these things existed.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it is an instance though of like you're a veteran now. Well, you've been a veteran for a very long time here. Yeah. I've only been here for 4 years. I have not heard many people come in and say, look, this is a problem, Squadron 42. Like, I either didn't know about it or I don't like that they're spending time on it or whatnot. One thing I will say though, sort of to bring it back to quality of life. The fact that they have been doing so many quality of life changes, and we're expecting some more over the next couple of patches, probably in the 320Xs, in 321, and so on. What do you think that says for major releases coming up? Because I don't think you do allocate those resources to that unless big stuff is coming, because you want it to be in the best state it possibly can.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of where I went. What I was thinking, but I don't know. It can go either way. You could think of it two different ways. You could think of it as nothing is coming, so we better fix what we have, and or you can think of where I'm hoping it is something is coming, and we need to clean up a lot of the stuff that would get in the way of that being fun. I guess I don't know. Like I'm still on this. I don't think 4.0 is going to be very exciting. In terms of delivering anything different than what we already have, right? Just more planets. A jump point is obviously going to be different and something new, but I think that the idea of jumping from one system to another will become very, and as it should, just become like a basic mechanic that you don't think much about at some point in the future. So I can't imagine. I think 4.0 is going to be like what 3.18 was. It's going to be a lot of problems and a lot of foundation, but not anything like crazy to like sink your teeth into gameplay wise stuff.
I think you're undervaluing the concept of just like what extra locations can do. So imagine that 4.0 is literally just pyro, nothing else, right? Or like jump point and pyro.
That is what I am
else,
imagining it as. That is my expectation.
I still think that would be the best patch of all time. There's something about getting to explore those new locations, getting to divide the population of your server a little bit wider into these other locations. Hopefully they still do something with the higher server pops, because I think it'll still be too large. And just having, even though it's the same stuff, having the new things to do in a different place is, I think, very important to a lot of people. Even if I'm hoping they'll get at least 1 or 2 big bunkers done by then. But even if I'm doing regular bunkers in Pyro, that experience will be super exciting for me. I'll be happy for like 3 months.
I think saying it'll be the best patch ever is an easy thing to say, though, because
of course.
Yeah, because it they're always move. Every patch has been the best one ever. I just look at it as people's. I think you maybe have your expectations set correctly, where most people aren't. Like, dude, there's a hashtag going around, no money until Pyro or something.
Yeah, no
right?
money until Pyro, yeah.
Yeah, something stupid like that. What is Pyro going to deliver to you that is going to all of a sudden make it worth spending more money on a spaceship? I don't see it yet. Like, the bare minimum, my expectations are there's some unique minables, things like that, harvestables that you could take from Pyro and sell in Stanton, and that might be like a cool process. And obviously, like new factions, things like that, just people, and NPCs with different armors and stuff. But I think it's mostly going to be the tech that is like, oh wow, okay, so this has the ability to finally deliver the potential that we wanted out of the game, right? I'm basically looking at Pyro how I look at the Hull C in 320. The Hull C and everything around it right now is so rudimentary and so incomplete that it was just, I just consider it like a technological test of, will this break the game or will it not? Okay, it hasn't. Now we can continue on in the process. And I just don't look at opening up another location with nothing to do or not enough to do to be considered like, I think 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 is where you're actually going to see some cool shit. Like 4.0 drops, it either is incredibly busted, which it most likely will be, but you're able to see, but you're able to see kind of the potential that it has. And then it's what they do after that is where that's all my focus, because that is where I think you as a backer can decide whether or not this game is for you. At this point, 3.0 was like a big part of that, and then now this is where a lot of the foundations of the game should exist. The and as well as the limitations of the game should be there, and it's now we work within those limitations and make a game that hopefully is fun, and we'll see if they can. And that's basically where I'm at with it. So for me, 4.0 doesn't mean anything. But everything after that is what means something to me.
Yeah, I think, obviously, yeah. So every time we get a patch with large technical things, it's very important for the game going forward. But as a live service game, which, as we know, CRG do treat it as a live service game a lot of the time, locations and tangible features are always the more important thing. Like PES was really cool and very important. But it was more about, hey, salvage is dope. We get new mechanic. Awesome. This is fun.
Yep.
Or what even else came out in 318? Feels like so long ago.
I don't think much, to be honest. 319 was the mining update. It was pretty much just salvaging cargo refactor, right? Which are big things.
Yeah, physicalized cargo, I think. Yeah, it was good stuff. But yeah, so that's why I'm saying I feel like, well, you're not wrong. People do expect more from 4.0, but I don't think that's going to make... I think 4.0 is still going to be fantastic.
Of course, but it doesn't... And I agree, it will probably be the best patch we ever had, and until the next one, right? So it's but I don't think it is... okay, we've had some monumental patches, I think, before you got here. Specifically one...
A lot of them were for me.
Yeah, like when they delivered the first planet, that was kind of like a pretty cool moment. I think obviously 3.0 and like you're able to go to um some ground locations and things like that.
Mm.
It there's a few moments in time I think when the game really changed. I think 318 was one with the cargo refactor. I
Yeah.
think Microtech was probably a huge one, simply because they sort of finalized the way they want to do a city then, and you could see.
Yeah, I was there for Microtech. That was my first patch.
You could see the difference between Loreville and Microtech, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this is so much better." I think I mentioned when mining came in just before that, maybe I don't know, but like the first mining patch was like, "Oh, okay, a profession." That is something new and crazy and different, and I don't know what else that really pops in my mind, and maybe that'll be a good topic that people can come in and call in with is what was kind of that monumental moment in Star Citizen's history that was really game changing for you, because for me it was definitely mining. When they delivered that, I think that was everything, and I wanted to see that grow, and it did. But selling ships in game, I see somebody just type that. Right? When it went from selling them outside to only inside, Vandal Mask event was a big one for me. So and honestly, this patch to bring it right back around again is this patch, and then hopefully this will be one of those where we look back on and went, yeah, maybe it was Starfield coming out and people going and playing that and the feedback of, hey, experiences in the game being better or working or things like actually do matter or something is could have been an impact, or I don't know what it is, but as long as there's a shift somewhere towards the people who are actively playing the game, I can consider this a huge win, a huge patch.
Yeah, I would love to hear like not names, but like numbers from CIG about like how many people for this patch, their primary tasks, or not even necessarily their primary tasks, but they worked on like the majority of the of these changes, right? Because it was amongst a couple of different teams. But like, how many people actually did that stuff here? Because it all feels very impactful, and at least with the development stages in the past, it feels like they would have had to dedicate too many people. Obviously, that wasn't the case. I don't know. Yeah, I think that'd be an interesting thing to know.
Could be. I just think they're also very like, they're like little tweaks, little minor things. The mining update is not a minor quality of life change. I think the salvage stuff were little tweaks for the most part, like specifically for the missions, like only having to hull scrape 50% of it because people were it was taking too long or whatever. And to kind of touch on my topic there, huge bug right now with salvaging, with hull scraping. Huge. It's
what's happening?
It takes I hull scraped.
Or is it the speed of the scraping?
The speed, yeah. So it's confirmed a bug by them, so hopefully it'll be fixed by live. But it is super slow. Super slow.
Yeah, very tedious.
It took me an hour and 20 minutes to hull scrape a medium ship.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So, and like I did the whole thing not knowing that 50%, and you can abandon and get the next one.
Yeah.
So I did the whole 100% of the ship. So it took me an hour and 20 minutes to keep going through the process. But like we talked about this last week, I think, is the cargo on those ships is worth taking, right?
Yeah.
And
they've made extra levels of salvage actually relevant and part of the mechanic, which is one sort of little tangent I want to go on as well, which is just that. So 318, 319, we got salvage. And then we got additional salvage stuff in 319. 319, we got the mining rework. Now we're seeing that, like, once again, they're going back to that and they're trying to fix that. I at least don't remember a time in the 4 years that I've been playing where they've released a feature and then the following patch said, all right, we're going to tune this. We're going to fix it up a bit. We're going to add stuff to it. And then the next patch, they do the same thing.
outside of flight for or like ship combat for a little while before they've done this thing initially, that's probably been the only time we've ever seen that in my 10 years of existence, right? So like that's why this like feels exciting and feels good. Is I don't know what's happened, if it's the number of employees that they have now or the dedication of the ones that they have or some internal change where they were like, wow, we have to actually care. I don't know. Like, well, it's not that they don't care. It's that there was definitely, because they've said it before, we are going to deliver all the features at a tier 0 state and then bring them up to a tier 1 or tier 2 or whatever. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. There seems to be, it is in a tier 0 state, and now they're realizing that it's taking us, might take us another decade to finish the game, who knows, and that we can't keep leaving things around to suffer and die the way that they have in the past. Mining died for a lack of attention paid to it, right? Cargo hauling is currently going through that process right now. It is dying or dead in a lot of ways, or just not anywhere near as good as it could be because it's been ignored for so many years, right? And you can name a number of aspects of the game that are going through that process, but now you're seeing them go, well, we could tweak this here, we could tweak that there, we can make it better, we can improve on these things, and it's been good to see.
I will say, in regards to the tier 0 mechanic thing, I don't think that necessarily is still untrue, because right now we're seeing it with mining and salvage, which, if they even are in Squadron 42, it's not like they're going to be incredibly integral parts of the game. So it does make sense that we would see those features. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I think, well, do you mean like, I think that they still will bring in a bunch of features at tier 0 or whatever?
Yeah, I think this tier 0 implementation thing is still going to be a thing. However, it's going to be a post Squadron 42 thing. Like, I would imagine we are probably going to see a couple of tier 0 things pop up next year, assuming Squadron 42 stuff happens. If not, then I'm nowhere near as confident.
I don't know. It just depends on what you consider tier 0 and what they consider tier 0 now. Because you have the NA team, like, actively working on freight elevators and all that stuff. Is that cargo tier 0? I don't know. I would argue what we have now is tier 0, right? So there's that, which is, I think, again, probably going to be a part of Squadron in some way, shape, or form. Very minimal, but I imagine there might be cargo on some ships or something. I don't know
why that mechanic would matter for a single player game, though, necessarily.
Exactly.
Right. So
So I think that it just depends on what they frame as tier 0 and what we would, because there's that. I think mining has gone. I think it's gone above
mining's
tier
at
0.
Tier 3.
Yeah, like once they bring in refining and stuff, I think that's changed. I think what it really comes down to is the teams that make gameplay right now are on this incredibly difficult task of the ship like engineering stuff. There's too many ships, and there's a lot of things to think about there, and I think that's probably why maybe we're not seeing much on that front at the moment, and we're getting the little tweaks instead. But as far as I'm aware, it's the same team that's doing like salvaging and mining and all that stuff. But I don't know what other professions are coming in that would come in a tier 0 state soonish.
Well, yeah. So hacking would be probably one of the bigger ones that a lot of people are keen on. Engineering sounds like it's going to be coming in as a tier 0, although it already sounds, well, assuming it comes in at the depth that they have talked about it, it already sounds pretty in depth for a tier 0.
I mean, it might have to come in a very finished, because if there's anything that is in Squadron that we've currently got that's like a profession type thing, it's possible that engineering is up there.
Yeah, no, that's true. Do you think we're going to see, so like, for a lot of the professions that are in the game right now, do you think it is mostly, other than like space flight or whatever, do you think it is mostly going to be quality of life changes? Like, do you see mining changing significantly more other than when we get the refinery ships?
No, I don't think. I think mining is at this point, after this patch, for the most part, mining has to be pretty set. I think the only thing that would change is the distribution. There's no way that even the current distribution is good enough for a game that, for what I believe Star Citizen is meant to be, in terms of like, I fully expect there to be like a big location where you continuously go back to, a place that you found yourself and marked and quantum marked and go back. You know, like I think that there's a lot more to do on that front. But for the actual mechanic, the bags, they got to change. They need a massive like rethinking, a quality of life change. But other than that, I think that they've got I think we have a solid base, and the only thing we'll get is new modules, new lasers, new you know, these things. I was saying it the other day, and I'm curious what you think about this. I don't want to see a single mining, cargo hauling, salvage, exploration, hacking, any profession ship delivered to Star Citizen anymore. I don't. Because think about it. Just look at salvaging. Salvaging is the prime example of how big of a mistake and how big of a cart before the horse situation we're in. They delivered salvaging and everything that we have with it currently before the cargo refactor was done. So now I'm still dealing with single SCU boxes in my Vulture, right? When I could have been dealing with size 2, size, 2 SCU, 4 SCU, and so on. And now the whole way the ship was designed around a system that nobody knew existed. It's like, it's something that I get. And now what does that ship need, potentially? An entire rework.
I don't agree with
out of the reclaimer.
I don't agree with a couple of takes here. So firstly, you're wrong. No.
I mean, it could be. You can feel that way.
So I think the Vulture, like, so the complaint specifically with the Vulture there is that, like, we have the larger boxes essentially, right? And then that presents issues. Yes.
With the Vulture, a little bit, yes, but the Vulture's a small version. If we move on to the Reclaimer, it's a very different story.
Exactly, and that's because the Reclaimer, it's a temporary solution. That's an issue. The temporary solutions are an issue, but I don't think giving us the mechanic for that ship in the first place was a bad idea. I think that was we already have the ship. The mechanic itself, I think, was a better idea. Just because it doesn't work the way it's going to work in the future doesn't mean 90% of it isn't going to work that way.
Fair.
And I don't think it's necessarily going to be a large change for them. Like, for example, we know the Reclaimer will get changed because there's extra parts to the Reclaimer that haven't been, made. So that's a thing already. But it already has an area in the back that you can send larger boxes out of. Not the crazy large, like, I don't think you can fit 32 SCUs in there, but you can fit like the 16s, I think, and definitely the 8s. There's,
but it's not. Yeah. It's not built in a way that. Okay, none of these,
like, the Reclaimer already wasn't future proofed. It already wasn't.
It was already a mess. Yeah. And the Vulture should have been maybe a little bit more, I guess you can argue. But again, it's a single starting ship, so that maybe was a bad example. But yeah, I agree. I think maybe it's getting the feature in our hands and seeing how we enjoy it and what we like, and they can build off of that is a good thing. Okay? Yes.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't want to see any newer ships get made. And maybe I didn't make the point well, so I'll try to do it a little bit differently. Is what happens for the next mining ship and what happens for the next salvage ship? They are going to be the meta best ships because they're built with the understanding of the way everything works in mind. So they would automatically just be more efficient to use, or just be easier to use, or more fun to use simply because of that. And that's sort of where I'm at with this. And I think another example, and we don't have to quite go here yet, we might talk a little bit about some cargo discussion. I think the best example right now is with the Hull C and the way that stations have been built.
Yeah.
The entire space station has been built without any mind paid to what you do there and how it would work. It's just built to look fucking cool, which it does, but the functionality of it is showing its signs of we have put art in front of form in front of function in a lot of ways with both the ships and ground location stations and so on. You know, cities. It's endless with Star Citizen as far as form over function.
To clarify, do you not want to see like more profession ships ever, or you just want them to be like way down the line?
I want to see them way down the line. I want them to finish their design before I want them to like, I think the best example of what they're doing right now is the multi-tool. We have a simple tool that does everything now to show and gather feedback and learn how these things are going to work, and then build the systems out later with ship tractor beams and the larger tractor beam that the players will hold, and whatever comes with that after. Right? So we now have a couple mining ships. We now have a couple salvaging ships. We need to build out the entire system with those as best we can, and then rework those to fit into what the system will be, and then build out the remaining ships from there. And that's how I feel about it, because I think what you get is what we've been getting over the last 10 years is they always make things better, and then the thing that you spent money on or the thing that you were enjoying all of a sudden is no longer enjoyable, and it's kind of just a shitty feeling to have. Like, I love the Vulture. It's my favorite of it's right there on my list, like top list of ships, and I already see it falling behind. You know what I mean?
I think there is an argument to be made that like profession ships are very different to your combat ships, because a lot of things there can change on a dime, and it doesn't really affect
tweak.
Exactly. Because I think there's a thing about like, well, you can try to go feature complete, then start making your ships, but because it's such a core mechanic of the game, is like multi-crew gameplay, living on your ship. Like, we're not playing Starfield where 90% of the game is running around on a planet. So how do you know what the feature is going to look like in a feature complete state if you don't know how the mole is going to work, if you don't know how the Orion's going to work? Like, I feel like there is a reason to do a little bit of sort of like parallel design.
Yeah.
In these instances where you're both designing the Orion, and I'll use that as the biggest example because it's probably the biggest mining ship that we're like, what the hell is going to happen? How's it working?
It's a very good example for this.
Yeah. So like, with the Orion, how is that going to work? How is it going to impact the rest of the mining gameplay? And I think you have to design them both at the same time. You don't necessarily have to release the Orion, but I do think there has to be some parallel design there.
Yeah, that's really what I'm with. Is we're now in this place where we're actually seeing things get taken out of tier 0 and then seeing how they're affecting the legacy systems and things that have been in the game before. And like the mole, I think it's another good example where they had to make this arbitrary, well, your 3 lasers are tied to the same computer chip, therefore your instability goes down, like some hand-wavium, like, no offense, but it's like, bullshit excuse to make the mole, make more sense, because they designed the mole before they
realized how they wanted multi-crew to be, essentially. Exactly,
or before the rocks were in there to use it against or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I think, I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of examples with this, and I think the one that's bothering me the most is the current one with the Hull C and the cargo, and I'm just fingers crossed that this was just a let's throw it in there and make sure it doesn't break the game. But we got a caller.
Yeah.
You want to?
We have a caller.
Yeah. You want to see what they have to say?
Let's listen to Death Hammer.
Yeah, we're bringing you in, and I have a little caller thing, and I hope it worked. Let's see. Almost. I have to move the waveform over.
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, man.
Okay. So there's one thing I wanted to
Turn them up a little
that
bit.
I've heard, listening, because I kind of mess with C++ and stuff and like Unreal Engine 5, that I just wanted to share with everyone. And one of the goals when it comes to programming is you write your code in one place and then you use it everywhere else. Now, granted, I want to make it clear before anyone thinks this, I'm very beginner at it, but I have messed with C++ and stuff. But the goal is, even though, we hear about, they're spending their time in Squadron 42, in theory, it should just be literally just pointing a reference or changing a variable that points from one section to a code to another section. So if they do their job right, keyword, then basically it should be really quick. It should be really quick to implement it. Now, one of the things I also think to prevent so that's the important point. So when people talk about why are they putting time in AC, why are they not putting time in PU, or these different things, as far as the code base is concerned, it doesn't matter, because all you have to do is just change a reference and you switch from one part of the code to another part of the code to a different part of the functionality.
I'm gonna jump in just for a second, because Elliot Maltby, who actually works at the company, said, yes, that's called being modular, but then one is single player and one is multiplayer, and they have to factor in a lot more than just pointing at some code. Is basically what he's saying. So just kind of jumping in and giving you for their point of view,
all right, yeah,
how it works.
Yes, and so that is correct, because you don't know how. That is correct, of course. I'm just making my point. All I'm just saying is not necessarily the work done on one thing has to be completely redone for another thing. There is still the importance of the usage between the two. You still can reuse so much. How much of it, that is a good question, and only the devs know. Not like it's completely, when you work on one thing, it's a complete restart when doing another thing. That's all I mean.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of the complaints from the community when it does come to this is less about, the use of the code and the use of the resources, and just that they're not seeing it, really, right? So when they see an update happen in Arena Commander, yes, that means a lot for the PU, and it's very easy for them to put it from the Arena Commander into the PU, that sort of thing. But that player doesn't actually get to play with their new toy in the PU because of that.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's necessarily as much the problem.
And so I just wanted to make it clear that when people think it's, because I remember seeing a lot of this type of stuff, is just making sure that whatever you're doing, just because you're writing the light code here, the goal is ultimately that you can use it in multiple places, and that the time to move it to those different places of the code, depending on what you're doing, it makes it easier to do that. That's what I just wanted to make clear.
Okay. And then, are just curious, just for fun, are you learning CSS to like mess around, make little games, or?
So actually,
or C++, I should say. Sorry, not CSS.
C++ of how I'm learning it, actually, the more recently, is I'm using it in a form of, I do embedded systems, microcontrollers, and smaller things. But I've also messed with a little bit of Unreal Engine 5, and I did a little bit coding there. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a beginner. I'm not like anyone advanced or anything, but I just wanted to make it clear to other people that just because the code's being worked on something else does not necessarily mean it can't be brought over. There may be complexities to that, but I just wanted to make sure that point was clear.
Yeah, I think everybody addresses that, or I think most people understand that, but it's like what Croncy said. I think it's more of it would be fine if they were making Squadron 42 and it was still in a place where you can experience it the same way we experienced the PU. I think a lot of people are less angry about things being worked on in Arena Commander than they are being worked on in Squadron 42, simply because you can play it and you can provide feedback on it and you can feel the difference in the work that's happening. Whereas this has been a decade-long experience, and in the last 2 years in particular has been this really brutal we're not even getting information on internal videos out of ISC the way we used to because of this. So it has been very impactful in a negative way in so many aspects of the people who follow the project, whether they're playing it or just watching it from afar. It's been a frustrating experience for people. So that's where I think most of it is. I know that's where I'm speaking from my own personal feelings there as well. But I don't think most backers give a shit about how C++ works. They put their money in and they expect results in the time frame that the company is creating those expectations for the backers. And in a lot of ways, I think that's one thing that CIG has done very poorly, is create the wrong expectations for a lot of the people who have backed the game. Is playable now, or you can call out any number of examples, and there's no point in doing so. We've done so for years. But I think that's more where it stands. But I definitely appreciate the insight, obviously, and there are a lot of people who don't understand that end of it, and this isn't wasted work and things like that.
Yeah.
It just feels that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's a management and marketing problem.
Yes.
I don't have
100%.
I would be curious, internally when they say, "Oh, we're putting out this feature then," and because initially when you look at, I look at projects and I think, "Oh, it shouldn't take that long." Dig in, oh dear God, it takes a whole lot longer.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I've told my wife I'll be done in an hour making a YouTube video, and 10 hours later, I still haven't finished it. Right, so it's that goes for anybody, anywhere,
Crazy
ever.
Was it was a React?
It was a React video. I don't know. This is weird. It should have been easy, but I will say though, I have only one time that I can think of, like, actually shit on one of the game developers and something that they said, and all the other times that I have been upset about something, it has always been in the way it's been marketed, the way it's been said. And do you know who that one developer was? It was Torsten.
I was gonna say, is it Elliot?
Nope. No, Elliot's just, I'm always just joking. It was Torsten. I was super unhappy with the update when they gave the gadgets. I was like, these guys are disconnected. They have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, it was just a nothing feature. Yeah.
And well, even what they were saying was like mining was too hard. Where meanwhile, me and you are sitting here, like doing it so easy. We're like, wait, what are you talking about? Have you played this game? So, and then, I find out some information later that there was reasons for that I'm not going to share. But the idea of that was the only time I've ever been upset at somebody who writes the code or, designs or whatever, right? Because Torsten's a designer. I don't know how much code he writes, but that was the only time I was ever upset at a developer. It's always been Jared, Xylo, Jake, whomever. We'll just name them all off. It's always been the communication and not the actual people working on it.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that I don't appreciate the insight, because I do think some people need to hear that shit.
Yeah, there is certainly, you do hear people say like, why the hell are they working on Squadron at all? Just work on the PU. And it's like, well, they would still be working on those features, just Squadron wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And I think there is a disconnect there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make the other thing I just wanted to bring up, and this is slightly deviant, like, why are they doing all the quality of life stuff in 3.20?
Sure.
The reason that I believe they're doing this now, and I think is partially to I heard there was a little surprise for 3.21, and this is my theory, and this is speculation copium, just a little bit.
You're gonna have to tell us what the surprise is you think is coming too, because I don't know any of this. I
think the devs are going to push back on trying to implement server meshing and putting in Pyro at the same time,
okay.
and I think they're going to bring in server meshing in maybe 3.21 or 3.22 first. Okay. So that way the PES fiasco is less likely to happen. and they're fixing everything because they know they have to fix as much stuff as they can before they bring in the server meshing, because it will blow up otherwise.
Yeah.
That's cute. That's interesting, but the only thing I would question is if okay, so say they deliver server meshing just in the Stanton system. So while we're in quantum travel, technically we would move from like Hurston system to Crusader system, and we would swap servers, right? And we would theoretically get more performance, maybe more players, and that would be fine. How would that differ at all from delivering Pyro as well? Just maybe just more bugs exist over there with, you know, in that part of the code or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, like look at all the locations when they do come out. There is a ton of bugs just in respect to location. When Orison came out, tons of bugs, and it was like a terrible place to go to because you'd have 3 FPS and all that sort of stuff, right?
True.
And so it would.
Lorville right now. Yeah,
exactly. So essentially, or at least why I think what Deathhammer is saying actually does make a lot of sense is just you're not inundated with so many bugs at the one time. You're just stretching it out a little bit.
Okay. That would be interesting. I wouldn't be against it, to be honest, at all. I think a lot of people would, but that's just because they're like that. Again, that Pyro is this magical thing that is really just been marketed to you as a magical thing, and I don't know how magical it actually will be. It's really the tech that is what matters. Yeah. So why would it be bad if they delivered in 320? That'd be, or 321, I should say. That'd be great.
So the main reason I'm just going to answer a couple of things I noticed is like why try to minimize it is when you're bringing in I consider server meshing to be a foundational tack. It's like putting in a partial new foundation on a house.
Yeah.
And so the best way of putting in something like that and not having the whole thing fall apart is to change as little on the upper surface, on the upper parts as possible. Fair. So you want as minimal feature changes as possible in the rest of the PU and the live service when you're putting in the server meshing, because then it's more easy to identify where server meshing is breaking, and it's easier to fix the bugs. Less changes you make to things, the easier it is to find where server meshing is messing up when it's implemented. And so the idea is ideally for a dev, they probably just want to have a patch where they just bring in server meshing and there's no changes at all in terms of adding features or adding anything, unless it's like it does the most minimal impact to the adding. It will just add almost no impact to the overall stability of everything here. And so that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. I just think I'm at this weird place right now, and I was discussing it with my stream very early this morning when I first got on. I have a really hard time thinking that there's going to be any sort of server meshing or anything happening. We have not gotten the separation of the replication layer yet. We have not been able to choose our own servers, which, we have not gotten any communication from them for about 6 months around this stuff, really, outside of we're kind of flies on the wall for that meeting thing or whatever. But the real like SCL type, we can ask questions, they can answer communication, we haven't gotten much. And with that, it's just hard for me to think that logically we would end up in a place where by the end of the year we're seeing server meshing in any capacity.
And you could be completely right. I'm just saying, that's why I don't pay attention to timing. I pay attention to milestones.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I can't wait for those milestones. And if they deliver it in that way, I wouldn't be upset whatsoever. I don't need Pyro for the game to be fun for me. I just need it to be fun. And one of the biggest things that we're going to need is more people in a system and having this work as best as possible, and to do it in the smallest steps possible. But, many of them in succession, I think would be fantastic.
Yeah. On a quick side note, I think it is incredibly optimistic. Anyone who thinks that 321 will come out this year, I think we're going to see the 320.x's, probably 2 320.x patches. That's my prediction at the moment. And then we'll see 321 next year. I was very surprised by the amount of people who, after they essentially announced 321, were surprised that was even a thing, which first off, remember, patch can get renamed. But secondly, like, of course, like, did you think 4.0 was that close to finish? It's not. It just isn't.
I think we still get 321 at the end of the year because this patch,
I don't know. It'd be close.
320 is the October. I mean, we have many months to get 321, and they will deliver. They are going, okay, they're not going to make the mistakes that they made last year because that is what started. This is about money at this point, I think. And they have fumbled so hard this year that they will deliver something at the end of the year. What that something will be might not be very different from what 320 is now, you know, some minor changes or, you know, like this is the Arena Commander patch, you know, then that's obviously some big stuff going on there. But as far as the PU goes, I expect a 321 in December before they go on break.
So the way that they've sort of, we do have another caller, which we'll get to soon.
Yeah, and actually, Def, we'll let you go.
I'll
we'll say goodbye to you and get to the next caller. But I appreciate it. We've been going with you for about 20 minutes or so. So I think it's fair.
Thanks for calling in.
What I need to say. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you for your insights. It was awesome. All right, continue. I'm sorry, Croncy.
Yeah, so just as a small thing before we get to our next caller, the way that they have been naming patches, at the very least, has been that, you know, a 321 would be a relatively major patch with some very impactful mechanics or background tech. I don't expect that by the end of the year, which is why I think we're going to see instead 2 320.x's. We'll see one for IAE, most likely. The current patch that we're on right now will probably release just before SitCon. I'm expecting at this stage. It depends. I don't know where we're at. I mean, we only got Wave 3, like 2 days ago or something?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But remember,
they're still going to get patches, just not.
They're going to do these waves really quick, Croncy. I mean, we might get 5 waves in one day.
I mean, honestly, maybe, actually. I think the first, like, while we got the first 2 waves at the same time, I think that was, a week and a half? I believe that was significantly faster than Wave 1 319. I believe. I'd have to check
the way the way they did the waves for the last little while has been pretty bad, I think. Like almost to the point where you see a lot of people making the excuse of like you're just trying to get people to sub sort of thing. And I'm like that's stupid, but you might be right. Like it was kind of bad how they were doing it. But and it felt a little bit this way as well this time. It was like, damn, you guys talked about how quickly you were going to move through it. And now, you know, I'm not getting a full gun rush game anymore, or I'm flying around, not really seeing anybody. My server has 30 people on it. Starfield came out. Not that many people are playing. I mean, we lost 90% of the player base, some people think. So I don't know if you saw that react. It was so silly.
I didn't. I saw the title, but I was like, I'm going to get mad.
Oh yeah, you would. It was hilarious. So I love this guy. This guy, Gem Reviews, like hates on Star Citizen. He's got like some good points, but it's super funny to watch. I think they're just really funny to watch. And he gets into a PTU. No, it doesn't say what time of day it is, doesn't say what server he's on. It's got 10 people on it. So a normal server would have 100 people. His server had 10. Therefore, 90% of the player base is gone. Math, facts, complete. We're good. So that was his logic there. It was so great. I was just dying the whole time. So I was in a server yesterday, and it had 38 people in it. So 60% of the player base is gone. So we've gained 30% of the player base back.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, we're coming back. Starfield's trash, you know, no big deal. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was an interesting call, and yeah, I've only been mad at a developer once, and it's so funny. He just messaged me, and he's not watching. It had nothing to do with that. I was like, oh,
and now
no.
you're mad at him again because of what's in the message.
No. I was like, oh no, Torsten's mad at me. But no. All right, let's bring on Science, our next caller, and see what he has to bring. Hello, Science.
Hello. Is my sound all good?
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right. I just wanted to change gears a little bit, but back to the idea of focusing on how this patch has really nice quality of life. It's the thing I was thinking is that basically when they release patches, it can do one of two things. One is implement new features for testing that help them build out the game to what it's supposed to end up being. This is, completely new features or new locations or even new ships that unlock those features. And that's what we've been having for a lot of time up till now. But then what this one is the other thing that a patch can do, which is just improve what's already there to make the game more playable for the people who are playing it right now. So this is the first kind of present day focus patch, at least I feel, rather than everything else in a future focus patch. And that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
And I'm not done doing it before, because you do have to build out the base of the game before you can start improving what's there if you don't have enough there to improve upon. But what I'm hoping is that this means that, like, because we've seen so many things, it's like, hey, we're building this system that'll help us in the future, that'll make this development faster, it'll make it quicker for us to build these new systems. And it's always been, this will make it better later, it'll make it better later. I'm hoping this means that we're finally getting to the point where it's like, hey, we can now start using these and making it better now. So it's exciting for me. I'm trying to, like, not get too excited and, like, be too optimistic just to get disappointed, because too used to that with this game. But I'm hoping it means that we can start seeing more of this, improving what's already there, because we've now built out this base of code to work on what's there, and we have enough features in game that we can focus on what's in game while still developing the new stuff. So I'm wondering, is there anything, like, I know I have some features that I would like to see revisited because they've been in a state that's like it's functional, so we can leave it there and focus on things that need to be implemented. I would still like to see reworked. Like, for me, I know armor and health I would like to see changes to, or way more health minor tweaks. So I'm wondering what you guys would like to see, just to have a little more positive discussion rather than, Star Citizen development that can be a little depressing and disappointing at times.
You go first, Croncy.
Yeah, just quickly on health. That's a really relevant one, because a lot of mechanics in Star Citizen are like mechanics in other games but dumbed down.
Yeah.
And the health mechanic in Star Citizen feels like almost like the Tarkov health mechanic, but way dumbed down. And I don't like that. I think you lose a lot of the actual fun aspects that can be brought from that by dumbing that down or not using a different mechanic.
So
I've got to
speak for that. So one is, while it is a little bit more dumbed down than things like Tarkov, or if anyone played Arma 3 with the Ace Medical mod, yeah, it's a little simpler than that. But compared to most games where it's you have X health and it
and you're
at
sandwich.
0 to 100, yeah, and you're either are alive or you're not. Like, the only health point that matters is the last one, and this restores X health. Like, compared to that, the medical system is actually pretty good. And I think it's okay to be a little simplified compared to other games where health is a bigger focus, because Star Citizen is a broad game, so they can't go too in depth on every system, because then you're spending too much time on everything.
Well, that's why we are where we are today. Is every system is meant to be incredibly in depth, and now none of them are.
I would like to see two changes to the medical that I think would be pretty simple, but make it way more in depth. And it's simply the medical gun. One, turn off the auto mode, make people actually have to know, like, people who are using the medical gun have to know the different drugs and what they do in order to effectively use it. So it's an expert tool, not a do everything with a push one button tool.
Yeah.
And then two, I would make it so it's not a beam, make it injection like the med pens. Because it's right now it's you just go up. It's like, oh, that guy's down. I'm just going to point this at him, and he's healed. And I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to worry about going over to him, making sure the area is safe. Because in combat casualty care class, they teach you, like, the first thing you do is make sure you're not going to get shot in the situation that downed this individual. That's not something you have to worry about in Star Citizen, because you can heal him from 50 feet away.
I mean, and so even if you change that doesn't change the situation, though, of everyone carries a tractor beam. You just tractor the body to yourself.
Yeah. But I'll take that over just pointing, looking at him, he's up. I will take, okay, I can't go over there. I need to bring him over here first. At least there's like that. they're at least engaging in that thought of, is that area safe? Yes, okay, I can just go up and inject them. No, I need to first pull out my tractor beam and pull him over here. Like, I'll take that over right now where it's, oh, I can see him, med gun, he's up. It's too simple for how advanced this system is.
Someone in chat said I'd want slower heal, and I can get behind
there's
that.
Argument for that.
Yeah.
Like for maybe some of the major things, like they tail off over time kind of thing, if you treat them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think, to clarify my earlier point, I don't think that it needs to be more advanced necessarily. I just think the current system is lacking in like the actual fun aspects of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not supposed to be fun if you get shot. You know, it's more just a mechanic to make you. It's a stress mechanic, make you actually have to think on really quickly and figure out what's going on. But if you're someone else that's doing healing, you want the mechanic to be fun for them. Right now, it's not. If it was the what I was sort of trying to say is, you know, the Tarkov full system is, and it is advanced, and it is probably too advanced, but it is advanced, and it's well thought out, and it feels kind of fun. There are other mechanics that are significantly simpler and feel like a ton of fun, and the Star Citizen Health one is just kind of stuck in the middle and doesn't really know what it wants to do, I feel. And you always just end up in these situations that are just like kind of, oh well. Now that could be bugs, of course. Who here hasn't, you know, broken their legs walking up some stairs?
Yeah.
So it may be the kind of thing where this mechanic actually shows a lot more of its positives as we continue on. But yeah, I do actually like a couple of the changes you guys mentioned. For sure, that'd be nice.
That's a specific system that I expect to see significantly more quality of life every single update, because it's something that absolutely will be a part of Squadron 42, that absolutely will be brought to some tier way above the expectations of what other tiered stuff would be in PU updates, because they can maybe feel like they could take a lot more time with it. Like, maybe it is going through what master modes and, you know, flight changes are going through with Squadron right now, and they're just not communicating it. Because, I mean, when was the last time we talked to Richard Tyrer? It was a year ago, and he talked about a lot of nothing. You know, there was not a lot of nothing, a lot of something, but just a lot of words that made it very difficult to know what was going on. But that's the guy that kind of determines how all this will play out. And they were very excited for what they were giving us. I was very disappointed in a lot of ways, because I was like, okay, Tarkov like mechanics, but the difference is a different colored med pen.
Yeah.
That's where I was a little disappointed. It was as simple as Tarkov does use different colored med pens. They just color them with a different object and a different animation to use them. It is the exact same concept, right?
But I think that's the thing where it's they went with the minimum viable product to test out the gameplay and make sure it's good. Because like you were saying before about the different ships for different professions, not wanting to add more ships before you finish out what the profession is. Okay, we'll make the different colored med pens, make sure that we want this sort of gameplay. And now it's like, okay, we do want this. Now we can expand those out. And it's okay, instead of just this drug's med pen, now you have to use this tool that's like a different animation and you have to set it up different. Like, now you can implement those slightly more advanced features that you've figured out that this is how the gameplay is going to work. And I think Medical's there because there was someone, I can't remember his name and I feel bad, but Mike, you were on a podcast with a few other people. He was one of them. I remember the second half of his name was his specialty code in, I think, the Marines, and he knows about medical stuff because I think he was foreman or something, actually, maybe in the Navy then. I can't remember, but he knew what he was talking about for medical, and he goes into detail in one of his videos about all the medical stuff, how it works, and it's actually fairly in depth, and it's in a decent place. The problem is in how the player interacts with it. Is they're either, like I said, pointing a medgun at someone and healing them, or getting in a bed to heal X injury. They're not interacting with the advanced part of the system. And that's where the problem is, not the system itself.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, Mike, that reminds me of gadgets, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the gadgets were, when they first came out, were like this like pretty complex thing that had a lot of cool bonuses. We just didn't use it.
We just didn't need them.
Yeah.
And now they're like, you don't leave the refinery without a gadget.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because it just makes life so much easier, and it's an additional step, but it's good. Yeah. I don't know, Science. It's been a little while. Is there anything you want to touch on real quick? Because we do have another caller. We're going to bring him on. We did it, Croncy. We said it at the beginning.
I can talk about.
Well,
but I'll let someone else take a turn because I'll be here for plenty of ATCs.
Of course, exactly. We'll see you next week.
See you.
Thanks very much, mate.
Later. I can't find my mouse. There it is. All right, let's bring Maxi on, and then I guess we'll make Maxi our last caller.
Sure.
Maxi, what's up? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
I
Awesome.
hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Mike, Croncy, dear viewers, hello, everybody.
Oh, I'm worried.
Why?
Why? Because if you address the viewers, I feel like you're going to say something crazy.
No.
Okay.
Just they are here, so I
understand.
said hello to them.
You're good.
Okay. I would like to talk about quality of life improvements that we will get in 320 patch. But I would like to be on the opposite side of the previous caller because and many other people, because everybody seems so excited about those. And I'm sitting here for the past few days boiling with indignation because
that's a big word.
Yeah, well,
yeah, let me look that up on Google.
I just looked it up because I needed to express exactly what I feel, because I feel like indignation, like seriously, because what did we get? We get aligned quantum HUDs, anti-combat logging, empty RMC containers, Mobi-Glass readability, MFD persistence, HDR and Mo pilots, something. Okay, everything is good, but let's look at what those things are exactly. Like, for example, aligned quantum HUDs, right? What they are saying: a significant effort to align the quantum HUDs to the crosshairs of all ships' cockpits was completed by the ship content and UI teams. A significant effort. For this insignificant feature, they spent a significant effort to fix it.
Before you finish, do you mind if I jump in? Why it's significant? Because for somebody who doesn't, I think that this goes along the lines of the things that frustrates me about their like community initiatives and things like that, is that they're very focused on new players. But in this case, it kind of makes a lot of sense to do that when it involves the game. So when you come in and you expect a thing to work a certain way, and then it doesn't because the readability of the UI is stupid, then it makes the experience bad. Now, there's 1 billion bugs in this game that will also do that to that player, but should we really, and this is coming from me who calls out a lot of the negatives and not always the positives, I guess, are we really going to get mad at them for working their way through those things? Like, the one thing I'll call out right away with quantum travel is, while you were working on that, why when I hold B does it still not work sometimes? Like, that's another one you're going to want to work out as well. Like, that's the next step there. So,
well, exactly.
That's why it's significant. Whether it's you could argue whether or not it was significant to fix it, because they just removed a certain element, and that's pretty much all it seemed like they needed to do. But it is a significant update for people who are going to be coming into the game in the future and who are just getting it into the game now. It is not significant for you, me, or Croncy, because we already knew what to do.
I don't think that it's that significant to anybody, because it's a minor thing. Like, it's not a game-breaking bug. It's like something that you just need to get used to, and that's it. It confuses you in the beginning, but as you said, there's like 1 billion things that are doing the same thing. So I don't understand. Yes, why this thing? Why exactly this thing, and why now, and why it is done like that? That's what I don't understand.
Because they have the time and they've been able to allocate the resources to do that.
And it might be easy.
It's literally as simple as that.
And
it might be an easy but long solution, because there's just a lot of ships.
Yeah, and them saying it's significant could just be their their bullshit speak.
Yeah, one of those communication things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I considered this.
But
Well,
the thing
still,
is it sounds like to me like it's not something you care about, so then you're mad about it.
no. I care about everything. I think that every one of those things should be fixed. But what really pisses me off, like, why has it been done like this? Why did they fix this old broken ass shit that they've said, hey, well, guys, like we're making this new thing, like, and that's why we're not wasting our time on fixing all those broken shit, because all that new thing is going to be so awesome and you're gonna like it and it's gonna work perfectly. So why are they doing it now, and why are they doing it like this? Why didn't they like make this quantum hood with the new technology, with building blocks? Why are they just this old? Why are they fixing this old Flash shit? Why? Why?
Is the Quantum HUD still
That's
Flash? I think it is building blocks. No?
I don't know.
That's beyond my pay grade. I don't look that deep into the dev
I don't know. I don't know. Some of the devs are in chat. Maybe they'll say anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The only thing that I would say about about this is they have been saying we're not going to fix anything because we have some new great system, and that has been the most frustrating thing of all time for so many years. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of people praise them doing something like this, because that didn't work and we all knew it wasn't going to work. And they kept going with that idea and then continuing to develop the game for way too long to make that idea make sense. Right? So it would be totally fine if, yes, we're developing a new system for XYZ thing. It could have been mining, it could have been whatever. And you could just name one of the many things that are being held off for future tech. And the fact that they're coming back and realizing that didn't work because that tech is taking longer than they initially thought it would be, and resolving some of those issues for the people that are currently playing. Why the fuck are we getting mad at that? I don't know.
Yeah, I will say,
Well,
other than just like straight up bugs that like murder people all the time and stuff, the vast majority of complaints that I hear about from new people is to do with the HUD, is to do with things as simple and as small as, I've been driving around in a mall and I can't see what the rocks have, and that really sucks. And to an everyday player of the game and to new players, that means a lot more than you may think. And it's really, really important for retention of new players.
I absolutely agree with you, Croncy. That's the thing. Those things, like the myriad of those little things, that's what that's what makes me not play this game, because like a broken feature upon broken feature upon broken feature upon broken feature, and all those little things, they like add up to the sum of something horrible.
Death of a thousand cuts is the best way to describe Star Citizen right now.
Yes.
And my stance on this whole 320 quality of life stuff is you praise them when they do good things. You must tell them that they did good things. You cannot just sit here and always say that no matter what you did, it wasn't good enough or it was bad. Because then nobody gives a shit what you have to say anymore, because you're just complaining. Right? And you're never you got to praise them when they say and do good things. And this is doing good things. They are fixing one of those issues, one of the millions of issues. But the only way that this works, and this makes sense, and this is how I communicated to Xylo, was you have to talk the talk. You can't keep talking the talk. You have to walk it. You have to next patch do more. You have to next patch do more after that. This can't be a one-time thing because you had nothing to deliver to the PU, and now you're taking some time out and saying, look, guys, look at all this good stuff we did. And then in 321, if there's like a more major feature, bang, all quality of life's out the door. That's not... So I'm not praising the initiative right now or any of the speak about it. I'm only praising the action. And the action of addressing some issues around salvaging, the boxes on the ships, addressing some issues around mining, addressing some issues with the quantum HUD and some of these other things are good. But it doesn't mean shit if you don't continue it, because you have to clean up the game in order for the time that you actually want to market it. This is an unmarketable game at this point to play. And that's it. So you have to make it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with everything you said. And what those thoughts that you expressed previously about why are they doing it now, right? And why are they doing it like that? I explained it to myself exactly with the words you used. But that pissed me off even more because you know what? Because I realize that hey, they think people are fed up with this shit. We have to do at least something. Like we need to do like at least something, some minor things that we can that we can fix. We need to fix at least those. But why it pisses me off even more? Because I realize thinking that things done proper way, like the new HUD, new everything, like they are so fucking far away that they are nowhere near. Like we're not even in the realm of next year. You know, like I just want to say goodbye. Like I'll see you in like what 3 years? I don't know. I don't know.
I gotta pause you there because whether you like the new HUD or not, it's literally in the PTU. So I'm not sure where we're going here with this. There's
also like there's all of these updates. Like the reason that a lot of us are really enjoying these quality of life updates is because it's made the game more fun right now. And is that like not an important and like a reasonable thing to like enjoy these for? Or?
I think what he's saying, and it's a fair criticism, is the timing of it is a little funny. It's not just because Starfield. I don't think it's got anything to do with Starfield. I think the timing of it is 3.18, 3.19 have been so unplayably bad from like these the stability standpoint that people stop playing the game and they're stop buying ships and all that stuff. And then this is what I think he said is that they're being reactionary.
Yeah, Mike. This is exactly what I said. Like the timing. I don't understand the timing of this. Like,
well, what don't you understand?
What's going on?
They want to make money. They want their game to be playable. They don't want people to pick up the game and put it down and not play it anymore. Like there's all you have to do is listen to everything that they're saying and everything that they're doing. They're looking for new players. They want those new players to have experiences to bring in more money to the project. Hold on. They're trying to get new players in. On top of that, they're seeing all these issues in the PTU with testing where people are jumping in, checking out the new ship, and leaving because the current game doesn't have enough to offer them. The game has to be fun in order for them to continue to get the feedback that they're looking for. And not just feedback of us reporting things, but feedback of just general data of how we're interacting with things and how much people are playing. You have to look at this as a positive. I don't see how you can't, but it just comes down to the way that the timing of it is interesting to point out. The timing of it is, interesting. And then other than that, it's just, if you don't continue this, then we absolutely have something to shit on them for. But right now, I got to say, I think you're being a little doomer.
Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that like the fact that they're fixing something pisses me off. Like, no. Anything that is fixed, anything that is made better, of course, is better, right, than it was before. It makes the game better. It makes the game more playable. But I don't understand why it is done in that way.
Okay.
And why it is done now. That's what boils my blood. That's why
I wish they did it earlier, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I wish they did it earlier, or I wish they said, "Hey guys, listen, you remember that broken fucking quantum HUD? Well, here's the new thing that you've been waiting for so long." But they said no.
Oh, like way back. Yeah. I see.
Yeah, I think one of the other reasons that we are liking these changes is because it's doesn't feel very CRG. It's been very good to have them actually do these changes and not like they aren't changing things right now that presumably will get completely changed once again next year. Hopefully.
As
I've gotta be
Next
proven
year,
wrong, but
next year.
but whatever year, you know what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah.
These quality of life changes do feel future proof, if that makes sense.
You know, what quality of life feature I would like to see?
give
Like
it,
Lorville.
and then this will be
Lorville
the end.
working more than 15, 20 frames per second. That's what quality of life I would like to see. You know, I would like to race in the game. When they said, hey, we've added racing missions, I said, oh, it's fucking great. Who doesn't like racing? I'm gonna check this out. So I'm going to racing mission near Lorville, and it works 15 frames per second. Who the fuck wants to fly racing with 15 frames per second? Like, what is this? What was the point of remaking this whole fucking city so it would work exactly as it was before? Janky fucking lagging ass shit. Like, what is this?
I'll
Okay.
disagree there. I think if you
That pissed
choose
me off
Lawville
too, to
as
be
your
honest.
home station, you're not allowed to have high FPS. You get what you deserve for going into that dirty place.
Maxie, I'm gonna let you go, but you made my day with that.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Be
Goodbye.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, so I mean that is, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed with Lorville when it came in, and like I expected it to be, my frames not to be great, but I have a pretty damn good computer and it's not even optimized for that, and it's like why are we doing this? Again, it's this art over, and I'm just getting frustrated with that kind of stuff.
Slightly related as a quick one. Has your frame rate skyrocketed in Orison in the PTU? Because mine has.
You know what, I never show my frame rate, so I have no idea what it's at, because people are obsessed with it. If I don't turn it on and I just play, people go, how many frames are you getting?
Yeah.
It looks so smooth. And then I turn it on and it's 40.
Yeah.
Right? Because if the number isn't there, they don't know. And it just plays fine. So I just
what you
never
do is
have it up.
You render your stream at 10 FPS, and they'll never know.
Yeah, true. Exactly. But yeah, I mean that call was fun. That was, I think it took a little while just because obviously like English wasn't a first language, and I think I misunderstood him at first. I thought he was mad that they were fixing things, and it was just confusing at first. But we got there. So but yeah, I don't know. I think. Do we talk about it's an hour and a half in? Do we talk about
Cargo? I'm keen to keep going if you are. I'm keen to keep going. We've got another caller as well.
It's true, yeah. But I was kind of thinking he was going to be the last one.
Up to you.
I don't know. Hawk's in the chat, I think.
Yeah.
He said maybe Cargo talk first. So okay, we'll do that.
Okay.
It goes into everything. It just goes into everything that I was saying before. With Halsey comes out, technological, making sure that it works. That's what I think. But we started talking about today on stream that something's got to give with cargo hauling, man. It sucks. And a big part of it is, like, when you look at other games, they have other star systems. They have dynamic systems, like Elite Dangerous is every day it changes based off of players' interactions. And but they never let it get to a place that's broken too bad, I guess. Although
they don't let it eve out.
Yes. And the weird thing about that, though, is like the whole thing is broken because you could just go in solo mode. There's no risk, and it's kind of like Elite's not exactly the best example. And I guess Elite player says the system's super broken. I know there's been bugs with it in the past, but in general, for cargo hauling, it's a better experience than most players. A lot of our discussion today was like some people in the chat wanted it to be risk and reward and dangerous and all these extra things, and it's like not every gameplay needs to be that way. Most cargo haulers are looking for things to just be pretty chill. I look at the above city stations as like proper ports, and man, I think like cargo missions are the fix, but in every other game, every other space game I've played, we have commodity trading, just like the commodity trading we currently have. So what gives?
I think I think the biggest thing with Star Citizen, which happens all the time with a bunch of features, is it is trying to be more complex than it necessarily needs to be for fun. Because if you look at all of the other cargo systems, Elite Dangerous is button press.
Yeah.
Even EVE Online is button press, you're done sort of thing. Actually having them, have this
Old
system
CR
where it's
games.
physicalized.
Same way.
Yeah. Having this system where it's physicalized, which means it can be interacted with by anyone in the server, theoretically, provides a lot of issues. I do want to say,
which
though,
I think is the best change from those. Like, to be clear, I think that that's really awesome, but sure.
And I do think this is kind of all of our topics have started to meld.
Yeah.
I do think this is one of those instances of a feature that does need a complete overhaul, not a quality of life change. Not the actual physical cargo section, but the actual trading section. So I'll use EVE as an example of an extreme economy that I do not want in Star Citizen, but as always, I'd like them to take that and maybe dumb it down a bit, make it a bit simpler.
Make it work.
Yeah. If I want to send cargo from Jita, which is a trade hub, to Amar, which is another trade hub, I can just put it in a cargo ship myself and
let me
fly
stop
there,
you for a second. What is a trade hub? Because let's try to apply things to the ways, because what is a cargo deck? Is that a trade hub, right? Are they 1-to-1 in that scenario or what?
No, so in this instance, a trade hub is literally just a location where the vast majority of player trading happens. Right?
Okay.
It's very likely that in Star Citizen, this will be locations like ArcCorp, almost definitely, and whatever that one place is that's not Terra will also likely be like that.
Okay.
Usually it depends on where they're placed in their locations and whatnot. It's a very dynamic thing that just starts happening, is like, where are the best places to trade? Where's the, different places to go?
Okay.
Anyway, so I want to move stuff from there to there because I think I'm going to get a better price on my items over at Amar. What I can do is I can set up a contract. Now, this is what I want in CIG, in Star Citizen. I want to be able to say, hey, I have a contract for someone to move my cargo from point A to point B. You'll get paid this much upon completion. Someone can accept the contract. Mm-hmm. Now they've got a lot of complex systems in there. One thing that they do to sort of avoid people just stealing the stuff, because obviously you could just, okay, I'll take the contract and now I'm leaving. Thanks for the things. Is they have collateral. So in order for me to take the contract, I've got to basically put a bunch of money in escrow.
Okay.
And then I get that back, assuming I complete the cargo contract.
And if you don't complete it, that money goes to the...
That goes to the person who owns the contract. Yeah.
Dude,
so that whole system is fantastic for just that. And I think it is the least complex part of the EVE trading system that could make its way into Star Citizen. Because I don't think right now we have, essentially, other than the Hull C, we do have that Elite Dangerous system where it's just click, click, go for the most part.
Yes, except it's get out of your seat, run, elevator, click, come back, elevator, train, go through, get in your seat, then fly to another location to gather the cargo. It takes 4 minutes, then quantum travel for 20 minutes. And it's like, that's the part where I struggle with it, is the way we're collecting cargo, where I want to see the complete rework, is how we are interacting with the systems that we're buying and selling from is the most trash thing about it right now. Like, should we be able to do it from our ships? Should we be able to do it right outside the hangar or in the hangars itself? Maybe. I mean, that could be the big freight elevator change, right? They've told us about freight elevators, but we don't know anything other than that there's freight elevators.
And what they look like. We've seen a picture of what they look like. Yeah.
And I don't recall seeing a panel of buying and selling at those, to be fair. So
I do wonder, like, is there a space in Star Citizen where we can have, obviously they want us to have to, physically move this cargo constantly, do this loading, unloading, run between panels, all that sort of stuff. That's clearly something that's in there. Is there a world where we can have a one button press, but in our ships at like a fee or something?
I think so, and I think that we won't have to move the cargo ourselves either if we don't want to for a fee. And that's what we have it with refineries right now. It's so simple, right?
Yeah.
It's like nobody's complaining about refineries. Why don't we just do that, right? And it's I don't know. Like for me, loading, like buying a full load of gold or something, it doesn't matter what it is, just a full load of something somewhere, and then knowing that the timer's 20 minutes or 24 hours for the ship to be filled up is fine. I'll be back when it's ready, and then I'll go do my run. So I don't really have an issue with that because it's something I experienced with mining, and I think it's totally fine. I think the biggest thing that pisses me off is that we have cargo decks that we're not interacting with, not even from the exterior. So how the fuck is this cargo getting from here to there? It's just like
we're flying to the exterior right now, and that's it with the hull seas.
With the hull seas, and then there's 2 docking collars. But this is a port. This is a major location that's taking in the most amount of things, and we're going to these random blue boxes that are out in the middle of nowhere. It's very weird.
Yeah, that's one thing. So they've obviously deliberately put them next to the cargo decks because that's where they're positioned, the blue boxes. And they have said that this was supposed to be a temporary solution.
Yes.
Which does go actually a little bit back to what we were saying about them not adding in features that aren't going to get outdone. This actually is one of those ones that's going to get outdone. Theoretically, this won't exist anymore at some point. So how does that apply to future cargo? Like we know that they want to completely redo it. So
this is the feature that made me say that idea. I gave the example of salvaging, but this is the one that bothers me the most because you just delivered Seraphim Station, and there aren't more docking collars. There are no docking collars at the cargo deck. We're not interacting with the cargo deck at all. There's not
the docking collars, but where you wait for your cargo is next to the cargo decks.
Yes, but we shouldn't be waiting for our cargo without being connected to the station. We shouldn't be waiting for our cargo in a situation where another player can get nearby and that just stops they're allowed to just stop me from gathering cargo. It's just, that's why I know the system is just so let's just get it in there and see what they do kind of thing. But for me, it's the other things where you look at a place like Seraphim Station where, we built this with the future in mind. Look, it has a security deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Yet they may be working on bounty hunting V2. Sure. The whole sea is literally in the patch. So you are focusing on something that's not here yet and not focusing on something that is. And I would be totally fine if, Baijini and Tressler and Everus didn't have its update, but a situation where you are building out a new station knowing what is coming and you still didn't do it. It just tells me that this game is just a painting, and it's like that. Those are the moments where the priority are on the artists and not the game designers. And that shit fucking makes me so mad because that's why the ships look the way they are without the game design in mind. That's why the stations look the way they are without the game design in mind. And that's why I have to walk 30 minutes to buy and sell cargo 1,000 years in the future. Come on.
Do you think this is another case of and they've done it before where they've been like, all right, well, the hull C has been done for a while and we're just kind of waiting on the features to be around for it, and it just kind of got too long and they'll just put it in? Is that what we saw happen, do you think, or is that a bit unrealistic?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't think so. I think they got the tech they wanted and then they put it in.
Okay.
And now they're concerned about its effect on either the performance of the game or the game's economy, which we all know is a meme at this point. The game's economy.
Well,
but
maybe. We've speculated maybe that's what ISC is about next week.
Could be. Yeah, could be. And that's the thing. I mean, that's the other piece of the puzzle that I think is such a mistake that they chose to do, is the limits, or the supply and demand. We are only demanding this much. We only have enough space for X amount of things at the outpost that you're saying you're buying from. That's what I think breaks the current system, where Elite, I don't know if they have a limit of how much you can buy or not. Elite players in chat, you can let me know. But like, if you're doing a trade run, that the amount of cargo at those stations most likely doesn't. You're not emptying them, right?
Yeah.
And it's just the prices. It's not necessarily this extra, like, we're only buying this many, or we're only selling this much. And I think that's where everything falls apart, is you end up only having one trade run that's valuable, and then everyone sits there and does nothing because they're just running out of, you're like playing the tick game instead of cargo hauling. It was very similar to things with mining, where you were always searching for Quantanium, and you were spending more time searching than you were mining, right? And then they resolved that problem, I think, in a really good solution. I think cargo hauling needs a very similar one. And I really like the idea of obviously I doubt players will be able to make these things right away, but contracts looking that way, and having the you need to buy the, what did you call it? Like escrow, but it was called something else.
Collateral.
Collateral, yeah. You got to pay your collateral, but before taking the mission and stuff. So now you have a mission that you are invested in.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your money. Yeah,
exactly. So it takes that away from it, and I don't know.
I think it's interesting, just in like an actual kind of economy sense, about what is better. Do you just have, an instance where you have infinite amount of cargo at certain locations, but the price starts fluctuating wildly when, people are buying too much there, that sort of thing, or having, no, we're out of stock and we've got to restock? And which of those systems is better? Because they both do sort of start, the results starts being the same a lot of the time, where people will still just wait. And so how do you make that not a thing? Because that's been a thing forever, right? Is people just waiting on what was it? Laranite, I think, used to be like, I don't even know if it is still now, but it used to be like the big cargo thing to haul near Hurston. And you would just sit there for hours and just constantly buy Laranite till you were full. That's a terrible gameplay mechanic. That's garbage. No one can be having fun doing that. I'm sure someone will say they do, but you're wrong. You're not having fun. And so, I have no idea what the solution for that would be. But at the very least, what makes it better is actual player economy and actual player commodity trading, and having that be part of it. So
yeah, obviously. But the only way to make that exist is to have crafting. So it's like one of those things where it's like, well, why would I buy those commodities from you, right? There's no reason. And that's where I want us to go. But for now, you have to fake it, because the only people that are crafting are the NPCs. And it's just, I think when I watched a video on how Elite works, and I feel like that was the piece that was missing. Like, it wasn't interesting. It wasn't anything different than really what we had in Elite, other than the fact that the trade run you were doing yesterday isn't the same as today. And that made it a little bit more interesting and a little more fun. I think people who are interested in cargo hauling are not interested in high octane gameplay, right? I think that they like the idea
not
of
necessarily, but they don't want to do both of those things at the same time.
Exactly. I'm interested in both, but not at the same time. And I do like a little risk in my cargo hauling. I think that makes it fun, but at the same time, I don't think it. I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't need to be this incredibly difficult mechanic to take part in. It's just as simple as I know that in Hurston they're looking for this, so I'm going to bring it there, right? And whatever happens in between, that's when it could be fun, or it could be a Netflix show that I'm watching. It just depends on the situation at that time. But Yeah, I don't know. I think I want it. I want things to make more sense, and I think like a bunch of ships docked at the docking collar, and you having to wait maybe for your spot or something like that. Well, that probably wouldn't be very fun or interesting either.
No.
But there's a lot that needs to be. It's where that whole idea of putting the cart before the horse came from. Is you need to know how we're going to be interacting with these systems before you create them completely. And we're finalizing a lot of things without finalizing the gameplay first. And every other game company does it that way, except for us. Yeah. And we're sitting here going, well, you don't understand game development, SaltEMike, when it's like, no, but I'm also not thinking that the way we're doing things here is traditional game development at all, because it's not.
Yeah. And I do think, like, they may know how they actually want it to be, and they release the whole sea with that in mind. But if that is the case, that hasn't been communicated with us. And so we just kind of have to look at, well, this looks like it's going to be really bad, and it's not getting me very excited, which is just always bad. COG don't want us to be not excited for the game.
Yeah. And I just can't get behind that idea of, like, they do know, because whoever's making the art isn't being communicated in that way. Right? Whoever's designing the station, whoever's designing the ship doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, I think you brought it up, where we need to be making these things together. And I don't think that happens. I don't think we're the same. Okay, I think the best ISC we saw was in the entire year was the munching ISC. Nowhere there is art. Nowhere there is anything outside of, this is how we want things to work. The entire mining system, the entire salvage system should be made and designed with a blob of a ship, the gray box thing that doesn't look pretty and doesn't do anything out, no flight systems, no nothing. It should just be, how is the player going to interact with these things? And then make it pretty, because we know these guys can make these things amazing, but just give them the constraints of the gameplay, and then we would never have a single problem with so many systems in Star Citizen, right? Like, I don't know what my screen name would be, but it wouldn't be SaltEMike most likely, if I didn't constantly see the same mistake be made 10 years in a row. It's always the same thing.
It'd still be Twerk 17.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't even be streaming. I would just be some same old happy content creator that, they come here to just try and piss me off. They were so happy because they saw some guy say something to me while you were talking, and they could see me typing on my keyboard, and they were laughing at the fact that I was getting one guide on a podcast by a guy on a keyboard. They knew. They could literally see it. That's the only reason they're here. It's so ridiculous.
Right. We've got someone on the line.
Let's bring him in
for a bit. Let's bring him in. Probably the last one of the day, I assume.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think you could see my mouse on the screen behind me. I'm trying to get it over. There we go. All right, Hawk, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. You guys hear me okay?
Oh, I hear you. Sure, I have you turned up to 131% for some reason, and your mic, it does not need to be at that level anymore.
Yeah, it was probably when I didn't have a USB mic, and it was a bit quiet.
There you go. Well, you're fixed now.
Yep.
All right. So we just talked a lot about other things, so still feel free to jump on previous stuff if you wanted to.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, I guess it's kind of interesting seeing. So I think in the past there's been that talk of, okay, so quite often a feature gets dropped and then doesn't get looked at for a very long time, which is probably still the case. But that thing of, should they potentially look at doing a patch where they drop a feature and then maybe next patch they loop back around to that feature in some way to do some quality of life on it. So I don't know if sort of the stuff we're seeing now is looping into that at all, in the sense that, are they getting to the point where they don't feel like they have to rush to build the next feature as much, or they're recognizing that if we just keep rushing from one feature to the next and never really even getting sort of like a reasonable tier 0 implementation here, it's just making a horrible player experience. And that's something that they can't do anymore.
Yeah, and it's not just a horrible player experience, but I think one of the best examples that we haven't brought up yet is refueling. One that nobody uses.
Yeah.
And it's such a good... Such a
But
cool
yeah.
feature.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is exactly the case that they are starting to, here's a feature that came out in 3.18. We're looking back on it in 3.19 and adding changes. Here's a feature in 3.19 and so on. They are doing that now. I don't know if that's necessarily because maybe they've just got, kind of like what you said, like this is a better experience for players, is not rushing out all of these extra features and more just solidifying the new features and making those better. But whatever it is, I think in general, the perception is that it's been good. So I feel like it'll continue.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's interesting for that point. I guess it's a question of, do they, I guess the question of do they think now that, well, I guess I'm thinking that, is it better to just rush from one feature to the next and get the game done quicker, inverted commas, or it's going to take so long to build the game anyway, why not do quality of life on the features as you implement them, so they're at least as in a good ballpark when you move on to the next thing, so that actually our current playable experience is a little bit more tolerable. And obviously there's a balance there between those two extremes of, do you literally just drop the feature then go to the next one and don't do any quality of life, or do you you can't put all of your effort into the quality of life or iteration. But yeah, I guess there maybe it would be good if moving forward, they had scheduled time for quality of life in the next patch. It wasn't just, if we can fit it in our extra time, we'll put it in. If they actually sort of scheduled in and structured in quality of life / iteration and feedback from players. So say, for example, I feel like mining recently, that's almost what's happened there, whether intentionally or not, or whether it's just the devs like going the extra mile, where that has almost gone through an implementation iteration cycle over not too long a period of time.
Yeah, and then refueling is the opposite, and it's made by the same group of people, I believe. It's I got a little distracted because you said something and I wanted to address it, but I didn't want to cut you off. But I'm trying to think of what I was going to say, so I'll let Croncy take over, or because I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if they already have, in their staff meetings, in their planning meetings, whatever it is like that. I wouldn't be surprised if in the last maybe 6 months they have made a more concerted effort to say, and make sure you're spending X amount of time finding what might be able to get fixed, and then we'll address it again, and we'll see if we can, add some quality of life, all that sort of stuff. Because they would have been getting all of that feedback previously. It's just we didn't see much work on it. But now we are. So I would not be surprised if they are actively doing that already.
Yeah.
But recently.
And like, I guess what I was going to touch on is like it continuing to happen is a definitely we'll see, because this can definitely be reactionary to the number of ship sales that have been happening, and that they are not reaching their intended goals for those, which I think we all, as most companies probably would, you would expect them to improve on their ship sales from the previous year. This year they didn't. So I think it's very easy to say they're not hitting their internal projections of where they would be, and they're probably not very happy about that, especially with purchasing a company and building a huge studio in 2 different countries and stuff. So I think that they're trying to maintain their player base that they bled off for most of the year, and making this initiative of trying to make the current experience better. But I think what I wanted to touch on specifically was the idea of delivering a bunch of features and instead delivering one with quality of life. The thing that I wanted to say is, and it's specifically about refueling, that I think is the best example, is you need to maintain the feature so you can continue to iterate on it. I don't think any feature is going to stay the way that we have it right now. This includes mining, this includes salvage, and a lot of the other things that we would consider pretty good. The issue that I think we run into, and that I think we can see over the course of the year, that this isn't super like, oh, this happened, we need to react to it, is they've communicated externally to us in like SCLs and ISCs that certain individuals own certain products. Oh, I own Xenothreat, So when there's bugs with that, I have to fix them. Oh, I own the Carrack, so when there's bugs with that, I have to fix them, is something I never heard until this year. So this may have been a much more long-term thing. But like, fix the Carrack then, you know? And like, you can own the feature, but the person who's prioritizing their work is not allowing them to do it, right? Or something like that. We obviously don't know, but it's speculation there. So to me, it sounds like something that they want to do more long term and that they do care about, but it's also not hitting on all cylinders. Maybe. What's wrong with the Carrack? Someone just said. Fucking kidding
Nothing.
me?
It's perfect ship. Actually, no. There's clearly something wrong with it. It didn't top 4 ship showdown this year. It must be garbage.
Yeah. You can't remove cargo from it with the new update. You have to blow it up if you want to remove it.
Yeah, I guess that will need to be fixed when they put in cargo elevators or sometime around then. But who knows if that will happen? But yeah, I guess with the mining thing, I was more thinking that feels like that was a relatively good cycle of like implementation, feedback, iteration within a reasonable time frame. Yeah. Whereas like most features feels, generally the impression, the feedback I think most people give is that they work on it in the background, then they drop it, and then generally it's just like, right, and you don't get back to it for like a year, 2 years, 3 years until they cycle back around on it. And there are just like maybe a couple of things that if they tweaked, it would make a really big difference. So, if really, rather than going 100% on this feature until it's ready, dropping it, right, that's done, next feature, 100% on this next feature, why don't they do like 100% on the feature, drop it, that's that quarter. Then the next quarter, maybe they stay 50% on that feature for feedback, iteration, quality of life, and then 50% onto the next feature for that quarter, and then when it's the next quarter, it's like, right, now 100% onto that. Do you know what I mean? Like, not necessarily those ratios, but like, rather than just dumping something and then not getting back to it for a couple of years, like, keep a percentage of their scheduled workload, not that they have to do it in their own free time, which is what it feels like sometimes, is when we get some of these quality of life things, it's because the devs have gone the extra mile, maybe outside of their normal working hours, to get them to us. I feel like if they had scheduled time for quality of life, and then feedback from players and like minor to moderate iteration that doesn't require like lots of system architecture, but it's just straightforward things for them to do, then those features would be that bit more mature, and just the gameplay as we go through would just be,
This is also a big problem with them working on Squadron 42 and polishing features there and not delivering them to us yet. So we don't actually know what the state of a true feature would look like.
Yeah.
Right? So it's they get until the end of the year for me. They get until that December patch that I hope is there, because that's when they said a lot of these Squadron 42 things will pull over. It's all bullshit if we don't get it by the end of the year. We see mantling now. It definitely has a better effect on the game, but that's not really what we're looking for in terms of, all right, it was worth it for them to work on Squadron 42. We've given them the year. They've now caught up, and we should expect more regular updates coming to the PU from Squadron 42 work in the future. And that obviously includes the map, the scanning, and other things, EVA that they showed, right? And hopefully more. So
it would just be nice if they had some scheduled time for player feedback iteration, and to be able to work on that, like, for example, with the inventory or medical or whatever it is, that they drop it that patch, and then the next patch isn't entirely quality of life. It's not like, but at least they get some of their time immediately afterwards when it's fresh in their mind, to go and make some changes. I think that would be beneficial. But
it's also so hard to sit in our seats when, like, I know just from internal conversations and just being in their studios while they're working on things at some points, like I was in what I think is the smallest studio, and that's the LA one. There are so many people that you have never seen their face, and they're incredibly impactful on the way the game works and how the game functions, that will never come on camera. And it is very difficult for me and other people, I think, to go, okay, Torsten and Dan are the EU PU team. When how many people work on that team? I don't know. The couple people that we see from the USPU team, that's the person who made cargo hauling. No, it wasn't, right? So one of the most difficult things is, but it feels that way from how they deliver things. So they deliver a feature and then they don't have time to fix it because there are only 2 people there. Is that the case? I don't know, but it feels that way from our perspective. Like, there's 1,300 people working at this company now. Who the fuck is doing this work? And we only see this like 3 people. Why aren't, why is this one person own 35 different things? So that's one of the hard parts is understanding who's working on what and how many people are working on them and why aren't these features being maintained is the part that, they're not very open about. So that's the struggle is we have to speculate so much. It's hard to know what the hell is happening,
I'm excited for the post-CitizenCon ATC. But anyway, keep going.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, it does bring in that question of like work share. So, obviously, some would say, right, okay, so server meshing isn't ready yet, systems aren't ready, so put more development on Squadron 2, push that out. So because we don't have the tech ready yet for the PU to do lots of stuff. But, maybe there's that to an extent, but it feels like that's being pushed to like 100 or pushed to like the maximum possible extreme of that perspective that it could have been in terms of where the resources are going, right? Yeah. So, I think there's an argument there, but I think it's almost been pushed to the extreme where, Squadron 42 has so many of the resources that like the PU is just starving, and yeah, maybe server meshing isn't ready, but there are probably other things that the PU could benefit from some additional dev resources from.
Seems like that's what we're getting now, right?
Yeah, you'd hope. And, if we do, if Squadron 42 does get closer to part 1 release or whatever, you'd really hope after that you'd see a substantial shift back towards the PU before shifting back, towards a part 2 or whatever. But we'll see. I think that's what we're hoping for. But whether it will happen or not is another question. Yeah, I guess the only thing in terms of current quality of life things I would love to see would be for the tractor beams not to be on a mouse wheel, or to have an additional key binding where you can push and pull by clicking and holding a button, so that I don't get RSI mouse wheel scrolling all the time. So yeah, I mean, it's not so bad now, right? With like the change the cargo boxes, like there's not as many to move, but unloading a pirated Hercules, I would never obviously be part of that, but yeah, unloading
even like Xenothreat, like the pushing and pulling of the boxes,
all of that stuff. It's just like, man, like how much like mouse scrolling do I need to do here? It's pretty bad. So, and then recently,
is the bigger cargo boxes, man. I unloaded a full C2 and a full Caterpillar by myself in an hour.
Yeah,
that's
good. That is good. Yeah, I mean, I think even with the new boxes, I would really like to see like an alternate keybind. And the reason partly why I say that is they've made some quality of life changes with the tractor beam very recently, like the rotation and things like that. And I was like, how did you guys not like think that? Could we not have an additional key binding for the push pull where you just hold a button? You don't have to continuously scroll. You hold it like the way that our thrusters work when you're using mouse and keyboard to like fly a ship. You hold W and like your ship moves forward until you take your finger off the key. It would be great to have the same thing.
Keybinds, though, man.
Great thing with the tractor beams. Yeah, I mean, people have mouses with a couple of extra buttons on. You could just map it there. Or
I've got this will make you jealous. I've got the mouse where you can unlock the mouse wheel, and so you just flick it, and then it just keeps spinning and keeps moving forward.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Makes it great.
That would be sweet.
I got that too.
Yeah.
I think Cutler had a suggestion of how they could like do the mapping with the push-pull tractors. I can't remember what it was now, but he had a good idea of.
Cutlet has many suggestions.
Yeah, he does. He does indeed. Yeah, but
yeah, I would just my favorite.
Yeah. But yeah, that would be a quality of life improvement that I think is quite straightforward. That I would very much like to see, like a separate key bindings that work similar to how your thrusters work. So you just hold down the button and it keeps pushing or it keeps pulling, and if you press nothing, it just stops. That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right, Hawk, we're going to let you go. We're probably going to call it here for the show, and I appreciate you calling in, man.
Yeah, thanks for great to, you guys presenting together is really cool, and still having call-ins, it's all very good. So yeah, thanks for everything.
Yeah, man. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. All right, take it easy. All the best.
Now. Oh, no. Okay, good. I almost went into the other channel. the mouse wheel is a quality of life change I would like to see. The clicking on and off, that crazy thing, that would be a thing I'd like to see get fixed soon. I also said VoIP. That was another one that would have been mine.
Just fixed in general, or like
working more consistently, and taking the keybind off of the numpad and moving it to V or T, or caps lock, or other common comms buttons in the past. But I think Star Citizen has so many buttons that you just need to allow players to just choose where they want to put them. But the key ones like VoIP need to be a more addressable, recognizable one. But I don't know. I thought this was a good show. Is there anything? Is there anything you want to touch on before we go?
We've done so far.
Yeah, it's been good. We had callers.
We had callers.
We had a lot of callers. Yeah. We had just kind of talked and let it go where we felt like it going. It felt natural. It felt good. It's awesome.
And we somehow managed to make most of the topics related to the same topics.
Exactly, which is tough to do sometimes. It's definitely tough to do. And we had the fun caller that was very angry. I thought that was fun.
I can't wait to make a TikTok out of that.
Yeah. But I don't know if there's anything else that is on your mind specifically before we head out. Anything that you got going on you want to share with anybody?
No, really. It's quiet for me mostly until CitizenCon. There is some stuff. If for any racers out there, make sure you check out the Scarlet Apex. I believe the qualifiers for that start either this weekend or the following weekend.
Okay.
So get on that. And remember to answer the call.
Okay. That was awkward. I thought we also needed an awkward silence in there as well. So I wanted to level it up to where it needed to be. But as always, guys, that'll be it for today's show. If you're watching on Twitch, this will be up on YouTube as soon as possible. And if you're watching on YouTube and you ever want to take part in the show, it's Sunday morning Eastern time. I'll learn what what is the UTC time right now? I think it's 5 p.m.
Oh, damn it. I wrote it. It's midday, I think.
I think it's 3 p.m. UTC we start. It's midday Eastern. It's noon Eastern right now. I think we're 5 off. Yeah, so so we start at 3 p.m. UTC. Okay, and if you guys ever want to stop by, it's discord.gg/SaltEMike and twitch.tv/SaltEMike while we're doing it live, like some of the callers did here. And once again, it'll be on YouTube, so subscribe, comment down below on any quality of life things you'd like to see and how you've been dealing with the PTU patch if you have access to it, because we're still only wave 3. So, yeah. Thank you for watching, everybody. Croncy, as always, thank you for coming on and being an awesome co-host. Keep an eye out for shorts on this channel as well. I've never posted shorts on YouTube, so this will be a new thing for me. It'll be fun. And TikTok, is it just tiktok.com/answer the call?
The account is answer the call.
Yeah. So I don't know how you find them, because we'll put links down below. You'll just send me the link so I know what to put. And we'll go from there. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
See you guys.